I was Ethan's kept woman for 3 years. In the fourth year, the woman he had never quite gotten over came back. The moment I realized I might be out of a job, I stopped trying. After he stormed out yet again, furious, I didn't chase him. I calmly sliced myself a plate of fruit, finished it, and only then sent him a message. Hey, where are you? It's so dark and cold out here. I've been looking for you forever and I can't find you anywhere. His reply practically crackled through the screen. Anna, I'm downstairs. I've been standing in the cold for 30 minutes. Then where exactly did you go looking? Chapter 1. After I went downstairs and coaxed him back up, I stood there with my head lowered, obediently taking the scolding. Ethan's deep voice was already unfairly attractive. When he was angry, it was almost dangerous. You've really grown bold, Anna. You lied to me without even blinking now. Not even trying to make it convincing. I did try, I muttered. You just saw through it. That only made him look angrier. Honestly, I didn't understand why he was so upset. All I'd done was refuse to attend a charity gala with him. It wasn't like I'd ever gone before. After all, our relationship wasn't exactly something you put on display. He paid for everything. I stayed behind closed doors. Public appearances? That would cost extra. Still, making the man who funded my life angry was technically my fault. Which meant I had to fix it. By now, I was something of an expert at soothing Ethan. In the first 2 years, when he first started keeping me, I hadn't understood his temper and made plenty of mistakes. But lately, I'd mastered it. One move, and he'd fold. I pushed him down onto the couch and told him to wait a minute. As I walked toward the bedroom, he shouted after me, I'm seriously mad this time. When I came back out in a plaid skirt and a button-down and teasingly called him a sir, something in his eyes snapped, and he pulled me straight onto the bed. The anger on his face dissolved into something else entirely. Things spiraled from there, all the way past midnight. By the time it was over, I was too exhausted to move. Ethan held me against his chest, one arm draped loosely across me, idly playing with my fingers. My eyelids were too heavy to stay open. I didn't bother pulling away. Half asleep, I heard his low voice brush against my ear. Anna, you haven't been as sweet to me lately. His voice was low and muffled, almost hurt. Chapter 2. He was the one feeling wronged? My $15,000 a month job was about to disappear, and I wasn't even the one sulking. That's how bad things had gotten, people tightening their belts everywhere. For a man born into ridiculous wealth, keeping a woman and only giving her $15,000 a month was honestly insulting. 4 years ago, Ethan had been set up at some party. In the chaos, he ended up spending the night with me, an unknown actress no one cared about. After that wild night, he asked whether I wanted to focus on TV or film. At the time, I was too busy staring at his bare back, practically drooling, and blurted out, can't you just give me cash instead? If I could get money without working, why would I ever choose to work? I'd assumed he'd hand me a few $100,000 as hush money and we'd never see each other again. Instead, he moved me into a luxury apartment and gave me a card with a $15,000 monthly limit, telling me to use it however I wanted. 1,000 thoughts ran through my head. A girl I'd signed with the same agency as, mid-tier at best, had caught the eye of a real estate tycoon. Not only had he pushed her into bigger roles, she was getting $150,000 a month in spending money. We were both being kept. How had my market value dropped this low? I'd wanted to fling the card in Ethan's face and demand, do you think I'm cheap? But then I remembered I'd barely landed any real gigs that year. Most days I was handing out flyers just to cover meals. So I gave in. And stayed in that apartment for 4 years. Chapter 3. To be fair, Ethan wasn't a bad man to be kept by. He was good-looking, built like he belonged on a magazine cover, incredible in bed, and, most importantly, free of any weird, disturbing habits. Those first few years, I was genuinely happy. But about 6 months ago, something changed. He started getting angry more and more easily. If I didn't go to gatherings with his friends, angry. If I didn't bring lunch up to his office, angry. If I didn't kiss him the moment we sat down to eat, angry. At one point I seriously wondered if he was hitting some kind of early midlife crisis. I had no idea what to do, so I went to my best friend, Lily. Lily had been with Ethan's close friend, A-list actor Daniel, for 7 years. In this particular line of work, she was basically a veteran. After I vented about how strange Ethan had been acting, she thought for a moment and asked, "Did you know Chloe's back?" Chloe? The internationally famous Chloe? What did that have to do with me? Chapter 4. Lily held a chocolate-dipped biscuit between her fingers, took a bite, and stared off into the distance. It's a long story. I snatched the rest from her hand and crunched through it. Drop the drama and just tell me. So over the next half hour, Lily laid out a complicated history between a powerful heir and an internationally famous actress, full of obsession, timing, and everything that could go wrong. Rumor had it Ethan fell for Chloe at first sight. He even set up an entertainment company just to support her, personally managing her career, handling everything for her from the ground up. He stayed by her side as she climbed from obscurity to stardom, and her most devoted fans practically accepted him as part of her life. Then Chloe left to pursue her career overseas. They had a falling out and went their separate ways. Ethan returned to his family business and stayed out of the entertainment world entirely. Long story short, Chloe was the one person Ethan never managed to have. And now she was back. No wonder he'd been snapping at me over everything. Everything suddenly made sense. He was going to end whatever this was between us and go after the woman he'd always wanted. Which meant I was about to lose my job. Chapter 5. The moment I realized I might be out, my attitude shifted. Before, I'd taken care of Ethan in every possible way, anticipating his needs, doing everything I could to please him. Now, if I could get away with half the effort, I did. I was getting dumped anyway. What more did he expect? Besides, I wasn't the only one who'd changed. Ethan had become strangely secretive. He used to be cool and distant, like a prince. Now he was glued to his phone all day, texting nonstop like a teenager. Was there really that much for him and Chloe to talk about? His fingers moved so fast they were practically a blur. And every time I got close, he'd snap the phone shut, looking guilty. Like I was interrupting his happiness. The more I watched him, the more unbearable it felt to stay in that apartment. So I called my agent. I want work. I'd been completely unmotivated these past few years. Ever since Ethan started supporting me, I'd gone from barely known to slightly visible and then stopped trying altogether. I lived comfortably off the money and hardly worked. My agent sounded thrilled and quickly found me something. There's an outdoor reality show looking for a guest. You're perfect. Go. I packed my bags at record speed and told Ethan I had to leave town for work. He immediately looked unhappy and searched up the show on his phone. This thing has you climbing mountains, wading through rivers, rolling around in mud every day. It's exhausting. Don't go. Why? So he could stay home and daydream about someone else. I'm going, I said. I love working. I never thought I'd live to hear myself say something that fake. He kept scrolling through his phone. A moment later, his expression darkened. Is it because Leo's on the guest list this time? My eyes lit up. Leo's going to be there? He's my favorite. His face went stormy, and he immediately launched into full anti-fan mode behind me. I told you, he's cold in real life. Nothing like that gentle persona on screen. It's all an act. Grown man smiling at female fans all day, embarrassing. He's fake. Don't fall for it. I ignored him completely, stuffing a limited edition Leo photo card into my suitcase. If I got the chance, I was definitely getting it signed. Seeing I wasn't backing down, he grabbed me, shoved me onto the couch, and kissed me hard. Before I could react, he left a mark at my collarbone. I punched his shoulder, annoyed. What was that for? I'm going to be on camera. His face buried against my neck, his low voice rumbling through my chest. Don't forget what you are to me. Chapter 6. When I arrived on set, I finally understood what Ethan meant. Chloe was there too. She'd teamed up with Leo for a film after returning to the country, and it was about to premiere. They were promoting it on the show. Which made my role painfully obvious. The woman kept behind the scenes, watching her from a distance, keeping quiet. Was I supposed to bow and call her the rightful queen while I was at it? What did he take me for? It was just a variety show. Did Ethan really need to warn me like that? The more I thought about it, the angrier I got. While the cameras weren't rolling, I sent him a meme, a cartoon cat throwing a punch. He replied instantly with one of a cat hugging a heart. Then he sent a terrible candid photo of Leo, white t-shirt puffed up by the wind so he looked like he had a belly. Did you know he doesn't actually have abs? All his photos are edited. I quietly snapped a picture of Leo from across the set and sent it back. What are you talking about? Broad shoulders, narrow waist, long legs. He looks amazing. Ethan fired back a string of angry emojis. It made me laugh. I was searching for another meme to keep teasing him when Chloe walked over and interrupted me. Anna, who are you texting? I locked my phone instantly. No one. She smiled, her features striking and effortlessly elegant, the kind of beauty even another woman had to admit was stunning. Come on, she said. They're calling us for the next segment. Chapter 7. Ethan had been right about one thing, the show was brutal. The next challenge had the production team hiding balls in a pit of mud, each one containing clues for the next stage. The male guests were already wrestling around in the sludge, completely ditching their polished public images. Chloe and I stayed on the sidelines, cheering them on. In the middle of it, she suddenly turned to me and said, I heard you're seeing Ethan now. I was surprised she even knew. I'd always kept that part of my life hidden. Being the woman he supported wasn't exactly something to announce, and I'd never appeared beside him in public. All the questions in my head stayed there. My face gave nothing away. I have no idea what you're talking about. She didn't argue. Just smiled, confident, certain. Some things were never meant to be yours, she said lightly. No matter how hard you try. Then she let out a sudden scream. Her hand brushed my arm before she pitched forward into the mud. Everyone rushed over, asking if she was okay. She wiped mud from her face and flashed a bright, composed smile. I'm fine. Just slipped. Might as well join you guys down here. She hadn't named anyone, but I felt every glance shift toward me. People praised her professionalism, her willingness to tough it out, and crowded around her as they moved deeper into the mud pit. I was left standing where I was, clutching my arm. That night, a leaked clip started circulating online. In the blurry footage, I stood to Chloe's left, half obscured, barely visible. Then, suddenly, she lurched forward. Her hand caught my arm for a second before letting go, making it look as though I'd shoved her. Within hours, the internet exploded with accusations, a nobody actress, jealous of a star, pushing her into the mud. Chloe's fans mobilized instantly. You hurt our queen, rot in hell. She grabbed that nobody's arm, then let go because she didn't want to drag her down too. She's too kind. Why is her agency staying silent? Are they just going to let their artist get bullied like this? Boycott the show for inviting trashy people like her. Scrolling through the tidal wave of attacks aimed at me, I stayed strangely calm. Chloe really was an incredible actress. We still had another day of filming scheduled, but after this, everything was up in the air. My agent had already gone to talk to the production team. I waited in my hotel room, staring at the 3 bloody scratches her nails had left on my arm, and couldn't even be bothered to put ointment on them. For some reason, my thoughts drifted to Ethan. What was he doing right now? Was he, like everyone else, comforting Chloe? Chapter 8. I had just thought of him when he showed up in front of me. Ethan stormed into the room, face dark, clothes still creased from the rush, and immediately started tearing into me. I told you not to come on this stupid show, but you wouldn't listen. And now look at the mess you've made. Anna, the second I'm not around, you find a way to get yourself into trouble. His tone was so harsh it reminded me of my high school teacher, the kind who could scold you for an entire class without repeating a single line. I burst into tears. All the frustration I'd been holding in finally spilled over, and I shouted back at him, all you do is blame me. I didn't even do anything. I hadn't hurt Chloe. In 4 years with Ethan, this was the first time I'd ever lost my temper with him. Even lately, when I'd started pushing back, it had mostly been quiet resistance, not open defiance. A woman being supported lashing out at the man supporting her, it felt completely out of line. But I was probably getting cut off soon anyway. Even if I'd been obedient all these years, I still wouldn't have been able to stop him from walking away. So I might as well do whatever I wanted now. After yelling at him, I glanced at his face. His expression was rigid, like he was forcing himself to hold back. He pulled me down to sit on the edge of the bed, lifted my arm, and, like a magic trick, produced a small tube of ointment, gently applying it to the scratches. His voice was still gruff, but quieter now. You've got plenty to say when you're mad at me. Why didn't you say anything when you got hurt? An entire day had passed. No one had noticed I was injured. Not the production crew. Not my agent, who'd rushed over as soon as the news broke. But Ethan noticed. He'd noticed before he even arrived, he'd come prepared with medicine. Watching him clumsily tend to my wounds, my heart started pounding. It had happened so many times over the past 4 years, this exact feeling. Thump, thump, like my heart was trying to leap out of my chest. But every time, I'd forced it down. Because falling for the man who supported you was the one line you weren't supposed to cross. Being grateful, though, that was allowed. So I leaned lightly against his shoulder and whispered, "Ethan, you're really good to me." After finishing with the ointment, he insisted I get some sleep. "I'm not tired," I said. He ignored me and practically shoved me under the covers anyway. I kept my eyes wide open, staring at him. He looked especially handsome tonight. If I was about to lose him, I might as well get a few extra looks in. He shifted under my gaze, clearly unsettled. "Go to sleep. If you don't close your eyes, I'm going to kiss you." Oh. Was that a threat? I opened my eyes even wider. They started to sting, but I refused to blink. After a long pause, he still hadn't moved. "I didn't close them," I said. "Why aren't you kissing me?" Ethan's face flushed bright red. We'd tangled up in those sheets more times than I could count, but asking for a kiss like that? That was new for me. The color on his face spread to mine, warmth rising to my cheeks. After a few seconds of tense silence, he leaned down, covered my eyes with his palm, and pressed a gentle kiss to my forehead. Chapter 9. I didn't sleep well. I woke up several times in the middle of the night, each time hearing Ethan's voice murmuring into his phone. By the time I opened my eyes the next morning, the internet had already shifted. More behind-the-scenes clips had surfaced, filmed from different angles. One of them was crystal clear. When Chloe slipped into the mud, my hands had been raised in front of me, clapping and cheering. There was no possible way I could have pushed her. As she fell, I'd even reached out instinctively to grab her, but I hadn't caught her in time. The truth was obvious. Strangers online started responding to Chloe's fans. "Stop acting like she was attacked. She slipped. No one hurt her. She didn't even get injured. Why are you blaming someone else?" Chloe's studio released a statement in the early hours of the morning, explaining that the incident had been an accident and had nothing to do with anyone else. They added that Chloe wasn't feeling well and would be withdrawing from the rest of the show. Overnight, I went from public enemy to misunderstood victim. When I sat up, Ethan walked over. He looked tired, faint shadows under his eyes. Chloe dropped out. "If you're staying on, you need to get up." I shook my head. "I don't want to film anymore." Work was exhausting. Maybe I really was better off coasting through life. Chapter 10. When we got back to the apartment, I let out a long, relieved sigh. For someone like me, nowhere felt safer than home. Too bad it wouldn't be mine for much longer. This time, I seriously reflected on how I'd been slacking off lately. Ethan had always been good to me. I shouldn't have half-heartedly played my role. If this was going to end, I at least needed to finish strong. So I threw myself into treating Ethan well. Not just in bed, where I gave him whatever he wanted, but in daily life too, becoming more attentive than ever. If he woke up at 5 in the morning to get ready for work, I dragged myself out of bed to tie his tie for him. When he sat there glued to his phone, chatting nonstop, I pretended not to notice. Sometimes, when his phone rang, I'd even volunteer to head out, giving him space for what I assumed were sweet video calls with Chloe. I never really had anywhere to go, so I dragged Lily out with me. Back when we were both nobodies, we could wander the streets without a care. But her agent was ruthless about her career. After finding out she was involved with Daniel, he'd shoot her out and then leverage Daniel's connections to land her a flood of work. Now she was firmly in the mid-tier, recognizable enough to be stopped on the street. So we settled for hot pot. At least she could entertain me with gossip about other celebrities while we ate. I was just getting into it when my phone rang. My agent. She told me Ethan had personally arranged for me to become the face of MS, a high-end fashion brand, for the coming year. I froze after hanging up. I didn't even notice Lily snatching the last slice of tripe off the table. Something about this felt wrong. Ethan preferred me staying home. Why would he suddenly hand me a luxury endorsement? And a major one at that. When I told Lily, she slowly set down her chopsticks, her expression turning serious. "This is bad." "How so?" "I heard Chloe's been trying to secure that deal herself. If Ethan suddenly gave it to you, what do you think that means?" "What does it mean?" She slapped the table, eyes sharp. "It means he's compensating you. This could be his exit package before he ends things." Oh. So that was what it was, a parting gift. For the first time, he'd actually been generous. That endorsement alone was worth over 700,000. If the money was already in place, it probably meant this was coming to an end. If I moved out, would I get to take everything that belonged to me? No. That wasn't my home. Soon enough, it would become Ethan and Chloe's place. My thoughts spiraled, and I forced myself to ignore the tight, uncomfortable feeling in my chest, putting on a calm face. I'd always known this day would come. Pull yourself together, Anna. Do your job. Smile and play your part. Chapter 10. By the time I got back to the apartment, I'd successfully brainwashed myself. Carefree, thick-skinned Anna was back. When I opened the door, Ethan was sitting on the couch, staring intently at something in his hand. There was a strange smile on his face, and a large bouquet of roses sat beside him. A gift for Chloe, obviously. He jumped when he saw me and quickly stuffed whatever he was holding into his pocket. Then he struck first. Why are you back so early? Don't you usually stay out with Lily until midnight? I blinked. Should I leave? His eyes darted around, anywhere but at me. No. That's not it. I just haven't finished preparing myself yet. See? I'd always said Ethan was a decent person. Even breaking up with the woman he'd been supporting required psychological preparation. Oh. Then prepare. I'll wait. I dropped onto the couch across from him and started scrolling through videos on my phone. 30 minutes passed. I ran out of new content to watch. Ethan still sat there stiffly, unmoving. He looked even more nervous now. I sighed and locked my phone. For the sake of the 4 years he treated me well, I decided to help him out. If you're embarrassed, I'll say it. Thank you for taking care of me all these years. I guess this is where we end things. I hope you and Chloe are very happy. I forced my face into calm composure, pushing down everything tightening in my chest. The relief I expected to see on his face never appeared. Instead, he looked confused. Huh? I had to repeat myself. Let's end this. Whatever this arrangement was. He seemed to snap back into focus. His expression twisted. I tried to read it, confusion, shock, something like helplessness, and maybe a trace of hurt. Hurt? Was he actually reluctant to let go of a fairly competent, kept woman? I almost felt a flicker of secret satisfaction. Then he exploded. Anna, you think this was an arrangement? Now I was the one confused. What else would it be? He looked like he'd lost his mind, words spilling out without pause. I cook you breakfast every morning. I run you a bath at night. When I go out for business dinners, I text you to let you know where I am. And you think I was keeping you? For 4 years, I thought we were in a relationship. I thought every day we spent together meant something. And you've been playing some kind of sugar daddy fantasy? No wonder you never wanted to meet my friends. No wonder you've been pulling away lately. You were planning to leave. He was getting worked up, pacing in circles like he might explode at any second. As he kept ranting, he suddenly froze. Wait. What does Chloe have to do with any of this? I answered carefully, isn't she your first love? I thought you two were getting back together, so. He roared again, I've never had any kind of relationship with her. The first time I slept with anyone was with you. The moment the words left his mouth, his face flushed, whether from anger or embarrassment, I couldn't tell. I tried to soothe him. It was my first time too. He choked on his breath, lips trembling, his face turning even redder, as if he didn't know whether he was supposed to keep being angry. After a few deep breaths, he forced himself to calm down, only to latch onto another crucial question. Why would you think I had anything with Chloe? I couldn't drag Lily into this, so I said, you started getting mad at me all the time right after she came back. That's because you kept refusing to be part of my social circle. And the MS endorsement? You suddenly handed it to me. She's been trying to land that deal. After what she pulled on you, I decided to teach her a lesson and give it to you instead. My voice grew smaller and smaller. You've been sneaking around, texting someone all the time. His temper, which had just barely settled, flared again. I was talking to the designer. I custom-made a ring. I bought those roses. I was going to. He stopped, then when he spoke again, his voice cracked. I was going to propose to you. He pulled a velvet box from his pocket and set it on the table. Inside was a ring, beautiful, the stone catching the light and scattering it into brilliant sparks. But apparently, he said hoarsely, you didn't want that. Chapter 11. What do I do? I made my sugar daddy. No. My fiancé. No. I scared off my almost boyfriend. After saying that, he left. I ran downstairs to look for him, but this time he was really gone. I tried calling. I'd been blocked. I collapsed onto the couch, telling myself I should be devastated. I should be panicking. Instead, I slipped the ring onto my finger and stared at how perfectly it fit and couldn't stop a small, secret smile. I'm sorry, Ethan. Even if I made you cry, I'm really happy. I swore I'd go make it up to him tomorrow. Tonight, I just wanted to admire the ring properly. The next morning, I sent him a message the second I woke up. I was still blocked on every platform. After trying everything, I finally gave up and opened Stardew Valley. I crafted a sign and placed it outside my in-game house. Stop being mad. Talk to me, okay? I had no idea if he'd even see it. Around noon, I logged back in and saw a pixel character standing next to the sign. It was Ethan. He wasn't moving. I couldn't tell if he was actually there or just idling. So I pulled out a bunch more signs and arranged them in a heart around him. Stop being mad. I like you too. Let's date, okay? At least unblock my number. Let me bring you lunch again. Right as I finished writing that and moved to the next sign, I noticed a single word appear on one of them. Humph. So that meant yes. Stubborn idiot. I guided my pixel character closer to his and clicked like crazy. The two little figures leaned in, kissing, red hearts popping endlessly above their heads. After a while, Ethan logged off. I packed a carefully prepared lunch and headed to his office. He loved it when I brought him food. The first time I ever did, he'd been so excited he kept me up half the night. Before, I'd always left it at the front desk. This time, I decided to go upstairs. I called his assistant, and not long after, Mark came down. He greeted me politely. Perfect timing. He's been in a terrible mood all morning. He'll be glad to see you. I didn't dare admit I was the reason for that mood. It was my first time at Ethan's office. Outside, several sharply dressed men and women, his assistant team, kept staring at me. It made me uneasy. Mark lowered his voice. They've heard a lot about you. It's their first time seeing you in person, so they're a little curious. Please don't mind them. I froze. They'd heard about me? Mark smiled. The first day you brought him lunch, he told everyone. Carried that lunchbox around like a trophy. So Ethan had already told everyone about us. And I'd been calling him my sponsor this whole time. I really was awful. When I finally saw Ethan, his expression was still cold. At least he didn't kick me out. I set out the 4 dishes and soup, and placed 2 portions of rice in front of us. He picked up his utensils and asked coolly, "You're eating too?" I flashed him my most flattering smile. When I can't see the person I like, I lose my appetite. Please, just let me have a bite. The corner of his mouth twitched. He lowered his head and started eating. Go ahead and smile if you want, I thought. Stop pretending to be so cold before you hurt yourself. While we ate, I pestered him to take me off the block list. I threw compliments at him nonstop, made promise after promise. I'll keep bringing you lunch. I'll pick you up when you go out for work dinners. I'll go to gatherings with your friends. Any galas or events, if you need me there, I'll be there. The man stayed unmoved. I racked my brain, fidgeting, running out of ideas. What if I start pursuing you again? That finally made him look up. We'll see, he said. That single glance left me dizzy. Without thinking, I blurted out, then I'll propose to you this time. Chapter 13. It wasn't a heat of the moment thing. I really did want to propose to Ethan. Thinking back on the past 4 years, how much I'd misunderstood him, how many times I'd hurt him, I wanted to make it up to him. The proposal would just be the beginning. I planned to buy us a pair of rings. But I couldn't use Ethan's money. The problem was, I barely had any savings. Thanks to my long stretch of coasting, my agent hadn't lined up much work for me lately. So I turned to my best friend for help. Emergency. Can you get me some jobs? Lily admired her freshly done nails, every bit the rising star now. The variety show I'm on needs guest appearances for the next episode. Come with me. That friendship had been worth it. After giving Ethan a heads up, I flew to the city where Lily was filming. When we met, she asked, since when does someone who lives to avoid work start asking for it? I blushed. I'm saving up to buy a ring. I'm going to propose to Ethan. Her eyes widened in shock. What? I thought we agreed to stay comfortably supported. When did you decide to make things official? I explained how Ethan and I had completely misread each other, how everything had spiraled from that misunderstanding. She nodded slowly, realization dawning. I knew something was off. No one supports a woman for 4 years without getting tired of it, then gets jealous and moody on top of that. Turns out you two were just acting like a couple the whole time. I silently thought, you and Daniel have been at it for 7 years and you're still not tired either. The show itself was pretty laid back, focused on everyday life. After everyone finished dinner together, we decided to play a few games to walk off the food. Each regular cast member teamed up with a friend, answering questions together to test how well they understood each other. When it was Lily's turn and mine, the questions turned out to be all about relationships. If your best friend's boyfriend keeps arguing with her, what should she do? Lily and I exchanged a glance and answered in unison, break up. If your best friend's boyfriend refuses to spend money on her? Break up. If your best friend's boyfriend gets close to another woman and claims it's for work? Break up. If your best friend has been with her boyfriend for years, but he still hasn't proposed? Break up. No matter the question, Lily and I stuck to one rule, my best friend is amazing. If some guy isn't good enough for her, she should leave him. With flawless coordination, we chose the same answers every time and ended up scoring the highest, winning a huge platter of watermelon. 3 months later, the episode aired. I sat on the couch with Ethan, a bowl of fruit in my lap, watching it together. When that segment came on, he gritted his teeth and grabbed his phone to text Daniel. The message had barely sent when Daniel replied with the exact same words. Can you control your wife? Chapter 14. After finishing that show, I got paid $15,000. Not much, just enough to buy a decent pair of simple rings. By then, I'd already coaxed Ethan into moving back in. These days, though, he kept dropping hints about marriage non-stop. My ears were practically worn out from hearing it. Like now, I set dinner on the table and called him over from his laptop, where he was still working late. He sat down leisurely and said, my mom always told me a man should have boundaries. I shouldn't eat food cooked by any woman who isn't my wife. I shoved a bite of bitter melon and eggs into his mouth. Don't get spoiled. He chewed slowly, still putting on a show. I really wish I had a wife who'd propose to me. Not even a title, how much could she really love me? I leaned over and kissed him, cutting him off. Be good. I'm already planning it. Now can you eat? I really had started preparing. I just kept wanting it to be perfect, revising the plan again and again, dragging it out. In the end, I decided to do it on the anniversary of the day we met. The day before, after he left for work, I dragged Lily out to help me set everything up. Standing in that familiar hotel room, I couldn't help feeling overwhelmed. What I'd once thought was a reckless one-night encounter had somehow turned into the person I'd spend the rest of my life with. Fate really had a strange way of working. We worked all the way until evening, finishing most of the setup. The remaining flowers could be arranged the next day. Just as we were about to wrap up, my phone rang. It was Ethan. His voice came through the phone, urgent and breathless. Baby, I really haven't been in contact with Chloe. I handed that entertainment company over to professional management ages ago. I don't interfere with their business at all. Why was he bringing Chloe up again? Hadn't we already cleared that up? I responded automatically, assuring him again and again that I trusted him completely. Only then did he hang up. A second later, he messaged me asking for my location. Said he was coming to pick me up. I sent it without thinking, then opened my phone and searched Chloe's name. The latest result was a video of her being interviewed by reporters. One of them asked, we hear your contract with your current agency is about to expire and you're not planning to renew. Are you heading somewhere new? There are rumors you might return to your former company. It was a sensitive question, there was no way that clip would have been released without her team's approval. Chloe smiled into the camera, half playful, half sincere. That depends on whether Ethan still wants me. The video already had tens of thousands of comments. The most upvoted one read, Grandma, the couple you used to ship might be getting back together. Lily rolled her eyes dramatically. She really knows how to stir things up. What is this, some kind of public pressure move? I shrugged it off. Ever since Ethan explained everything, I believed him. Chloe always wanted more attention, opportunities, control. Maybe that worked in the entertainment industry, but she and Ethan lived in completely different worlds. There was no way Ethan would choose her. It was obviously a staged interview. It didn't shake me at all. I didn't understand why he was so anxious. He even said he was coming to get me. Wait. Coming to get me? I scrolled back through our messages. I'd sent him the hotel address. And the room number. My stomach dropped. Why had I sent that without thinking? What now? The proposal setup wasn't finished. The timing was all wrong. If he showed up now, the surprise would be ruined. I grabbed Lily and ran for the door, hoping we could stop him downstairs. We had just stepped into the living room when Ethan rushed in and pulled me straight into his arms. He was breathing hard, holding me tight. I swear, I was never going to sign Chloe. I'll tell management to blacklist her if I have to. No contracts, no collaborations, nothing. Please don't be mad. I patted his back gently, telling him I wasn't. I knew exactly why he was this nervous. The only time we'd ever come close to breaking apart was when I misunderstood his connection with Chloe. He cared about me that much. Even the slightest chance of losing me was unbearable to him. How lucky was I to have someone like Ethan in my life? The emotion swelled so suddenly it almost overwhelmed me. Maybe now was the moment. It didn't have to be perfect. As long as it was him. So I dropped to one knee and held up the pair of rings I'd been carrying with me all this time. Looking at the man in front of me, my stunned, overjoyed love, I said, "Ethan, will you marry me?"
Ethan, bonus chapter. I'd always been the well-behaved one in my family, which meant my rebellious phase came late. When my grandfather called me back to train within the family company, I ran away instead and started my own entertainment company. Back then, I was obsessed with proving I could succeed without relying on my family's influence. It was painfully self-righteous. The truth was, no one had ever asked me to prove anything. 3 years later, my grandfather told me he could only manage 2 bowls of rice now, he didn't have the appetite for a third anymore. I handed the company over to professional management and went home to take over the family business. The entertainment industry's ugliness was obvious, out in the open. I'd forgotten how much more ruthless the real world of business could be. The moment I realized someone had slipped something into my drink, I muttered an excuse and headed for the restroom. From there, I slipped out. Luckily, Daniel's hotel was downstairs. He kept a permanent room reserved for me. I stumbled toward it, my body burning, something inside me ready to explode. By the time I reached the door, I could barely hold the keycard. I was on the verge of collapsing. Then a pair of slender hands caught me. A girl. She smelled faintly of citrus, clean, soft. I lost control and pulled her into the room. All I really remember are her eyes round and bright when she glared at me, shimmering like a small boat on water when she cried. When I woke up the next morning, panic hit me hard. I woke up in a panic. What the hell did I just do? Looking at the delicate girl in front of me, my heart started racing. I wanted to take responsibility. I hoped she wouldn't dislike me, that she'd be willing to date me. My assistant did some digging. She was a minor actress. Maybe if I gave her some opportunities, she'd be willing to accept me. She didn't seem all that interested in acting, but she was willing to spend my money. That was perfect. She was such a good girl. I hadn't really used my secondary card before, so the limit was only $15,000 for now. Let her use it first. I'd have it raised tomorrow. Her name was Anna. It sounded beautiful. Every day with her was happy. How was she so unpredictable? Like a kaleidoscope. She surprised me constantly. But she didn't seem to like working. She stayed home most of the time. That was fine. I had enough money to support her for life. My friends didn't believe I was in a relationship. They said I didn't have it in me. I was furious. I had to introduce Anna to them. But she refused to come to gatherings with my friends. She refused to attend events with me. Refused to have lunch at the office with me. Why? I felt wronged. When I told my grandfather, he snorted. If you didn't plan to marry her, and you've been with her for 4 years without proposing, then the one who should feel wronged is that girl. It hit me all at once. So all I had to do was marry Anna. The thought thrilled me. That was how it should be. Anna and I should get married. Like my grandparents. Like my parents.
At this point, my love life is a public service announcement. Free of charge.